All right, good morning, traders. Today is June 10th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you so much for the kind comments. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for following me. Appreciate that. Love all of it. It helps inspire me to keep going on. Let's go take a look at some charts today. All right. Actually, let's go ahead and start the morning monologue. All right. So my SPY pivot this morning, 600.20. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All of the Fab Five still in daily uptrends. Sorry. SPY, IWM, QQQ made higher lows and higher highs. Closing over bullish traps over their 17 EMAs. FNGB made an inside day closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. Diamond Down made a lower low and a lower high closing over a bullish trap. See the pattern? Over the 17 EMA. SPY closed with a 2-hour uptrend and a 10-minute downtrend. Gold and silver both in daily uptrends. Gold made a lower low and a lower high closing under a bullish trap and under the 17 EMA. Silver made another new 12-year high. That's 3 days in a row, 12-year highs. USO in a daily uptrend, finally, made a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. UNG made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bullish trap under the flat 17 EMA. US dollar index still in a downtrend. We love that. Closed near 99.04. SPY Max Pain, that's for the options that expire today, 599 with a put to call ratio of 1.1 put to each call that expires today. I'm not expecting a whole lot of movement. CPI is coming out tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning, okay? So probably going to be range bound somewhere close to the overnight range for SPY. We will look at it later and see how we want to trade it. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of Friday's action, see what happened there. All right, let's start off with the game plan over here. And we'll start with the 10-minute chart. We'll zoom in here and we'll pick up a clean chart. You can see we had the 10-minute chart, the faster moving average, the 3 EMA underneath the 8 EMA. Okay, see that? That's a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close, right into a little VWAP pullback there. So 10-minute downtrend coming into the close yesterday. That would be Monday. Okay, let's take a look at the 2-hour chart. 2-hour chart, still got a 2-hour uptrend. We like that. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Daily chart, we got like, gotta tell you, looks like the double doji pattern. Got a higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. All right, let's take a look at it with the scratch line. Actually, let's take a look at it on here. All right, and we have price action. You can see up here is up in quadrant 4. Okay, it's up here in quadrant 4. All right, we're up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. It's going to be this pink line right here. We're making higher lows and higher highs, closing over the traps and over the 17. All of that is bullish. Closing over an uptrend line, which probably exists right through there. Closing over that uptrend line, that's bullish. Closing over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Price action is moving up and holding the higher ground. That is a bullish environment. That is a bullish characteristic, okay? Everything is looking good. What I'm looking for are these 10-minute uptrends over VWAP that are inside 2-hour uptrends, that are inside of daily uptrends, that are inside of weekly candles that are moving up, inside of monthly uptrends. I can't say weekly uptrend yet because we haven't had a weekly. Weekly is still in a downtrend, just not moving down. Inside of monthly uptrends, okay? That's my perfect That's my perfect stack. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I like to trade. Rare opportunity right now where we got price up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. This is an opportunity now. You don't get this all the time. So here's SPY on the daily. Look at the 2-day. The 2-day has to break this high, the all-time high, in order to negate the downtrend status that it's in. Good news is it's not moving down. It's in a 2-day downtrend, but not moving down. 3 days in the same deal. All right, still in a 3-day downtrend. The first high we come to over the 17 is the all-time high. So they have to take out that all-time high in order to negate the downtrend label or the downtrend status, okay? So that's 3-day, 2-day, and the weekly is the same thing, okay? Got to take out that all-time high. Unless, of course, all right, they put in a lower high, make a higher low, and then come back through and take out that lower high, okay? That's a possibility. All right, so we got the 3-day, the 2-day, and the weekly. Still in downtrends. But let me just say all three are still moving up. Let's take a look at the monthly chart. You can see here on the monthly, we've got a low here. Didn't break any lows, so we're still in an uptrend on the monthly chart. So we've got a weekly that's not moving. We've got a weekly downtrend that's not moving down, a monthly uptrend, a daily uptrend, a 2-hour uptrend. Now all we need is that 10-minute uptrend to jump on board and look for those. So I'm going to look for those 10-minute uptrends over VWAP inside those 2-hour uptrends to go a little bit further. Okay, you're going to have a higher success rate on those 2-hour uptrends when you got this 2-hour stack inside of a daily uptrend, inside of a monthly uptrend, inside of weekly candles moving up, inside of monthly candles, a monthly uptrend there. So we're looking for that to happen. All right, looking for possible 10-minute downtrends under VWAP, more likely to fail. All right, so be careful with those counter trend trades. All right, not as likely to succeed as those uptrends because of the bullish environment that we're in. Again, price is moving up and holding the higher ground. Okay, that's a bullish environment. We're up here in quadrant 4. See how price moves up and moves to the right. Okay, it's opposed to going up and giving it up. Okay, price goes up, all right, and then gives it up. That's just neutral. That doesn't make it bearish, okay? When price moves up, holds that higher ground, that's bullish. Okay, so price is bullish right now. Okay, because it's doing that. It's moving up, holding this higher ground. It's not going up and giving it up. Okay, see how they went down? And then they gave it up. Okay, so that's just neutral. Okay, not bearish. They went down, but they gave it back up. They recovered from it. All right, we're in a daily uptrend because, well, we got higher lows and we got higher highs. So that's a daily uptrend on SPY. Let's take a look at the game plan. And I want to go to the 10-minute chart. First, I want to take that off. 10-minute chart, game plan, pickup number 8. Okay, I like, this is a SPY game plan, SPY pivot 600.20. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Okay, I like, we got a red erases green entry underneath 598.80. Okay, you can see where price made this low right here and rallied up to this high. So when the bears wipe out all of this red, all right, all of this green, all right, that'd be a move from here to make a new high. If they wipe all of that out, okay, below this area right here would be a red erases green entry. So that's below 598.80. Okay, green erases red. You can see we got ourselves a little pullback. We can have green erases red. Okay, up over. Let's move this up out of the way. 601.05. Okay, see the brick of wicks up there. Okay, so up over 601.05. That would be the green erases red. Got a pullback. That would be the bulls erasing all of this pullback that you're currently looking at right now, and then moving up to make higher highs. Okay, so over 601.05 is a bullish entry. Okay, That's a bullish. Green erases red over 601.05. I like 3 days till expiration Friday options. All right. I like strikes that are on the multiple of 5. So for instance, 595, 600, 605, 610. All right. I like my strikes to be $5 to $15 out of the money. They're much cheaper that way. If you get in the money, all right, they're going to be more expensive. I got a small account. I want to just move it up as fast as I can. All right, so I like them $5 to $15 out of the money. Plus, they offer a whole lot less risk. All right, when you're dealing with a 40-cent option, 40 cents per share, as opposed to a $2.20 option, all right, that's $2.20 per share. I mean, you could go to zero. You can see some of these 10-minute candles are pretty big. You can see this one here is this is a 10-minute candle that we closed off with yesterday. You can see that one from 672 clear down to 599.50. Okay, so it's a dollar move. If you've got 10 contracts, okay, that's going to be probably a $1,200 dip in your $25,000 account. That cannot be had. All right, that will throw you into a margin call, and they'll ask you to put in some more money if you want to continue to be a pattern day trader. All right, so there's a 10-minute chart, 10-minute downtrend, 2-hour uptrend, below 598.80. I'm a bear. Okay, that's a bearish entry underneath that. Below the pivot, I'm a bear, 620. All right, I like 10-minute uptrends and a bullish entry over 601.05. Okay, I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, especially like when they're breaking away from VWAP. What did we trade yesterday? We traded a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP right here. Okay, we had a breakout. Okay, you can see where price candles separate from VWAP. VWAP's this brown line right here. So right there was a nice 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Didn't go far, only went $1, but we still managed to ink out some green profits on that one as price pulled away up here. Now we were expecting it to move on up to 601.75, 601.95. Didn't quite make it there. It did in the overnight action, but couldn't make that in the open hours, and then it consolidated up here. Okay, bullish consolidation over prior consolidation over prior consolidation is, again, that's another bullish environment. Okay, anytime you see bullish gaps up that aren't getting filled by the bears, that's also a bullish environment because it shows weakness on the bears' part to fill the gap. All right, so here's SPY on the 10-minute. You can see we'll take a look at QQQ on the 10-minute, and we'll look at the game plan for that. Okay, QQQ pivot, 531.25. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Bearish red erases green. You can see here's the opening candle that could probably move up to here. Okay, so that would be 529.83. Okay, so 529.83. That would be my red erases green, my red erases green entry. Okay, so that would be a move from this low up to this high. So that would be my red erases green entry below 529.83. Pivot 531.25. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Green erases red. We have a pullback. So if the bulls come in and rally back from this pullback here, we have a green erases red entry over 532.15. Again, I like 3 days till expiration Friday options with strikes on the increments of 5. So for instance, 530, 535, 540, 545. You get the gist. I like 10 days till expiration Friday options, again on the increments of 5, multiples of 5. 530, 525, 520. You get the message there. Again, same thing on QQQ. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. If I happen to get in the SPY or QQQ a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that originates up here, let's say it's a downtrend and it originates up here, I'm not going to wait, all right, for the red erases green entry to get into it. All right, if it gets underneath the pivot, that 10-minute downtrend, I will probably jump on it. All right, same thing on uptrends. If I have an uptrend that originates down here, okay, not where the green erases red entry. All right, if I get a 10-minute uptrend that originates down here and moves up past the pivot, I will more than likely jump on top of that one, okay? So uptrends that start over here, all right, are tradable for me once they pass the pivot. Downtrends that originate up here and then pass through the pivot, once I get a 10-minute downtrend, I can jump onto those, okay? I don't have to wait for the red erases green entry or the green erases red. Those will be places I can add or take profit in these two locations if I have that 10-minute trend that originates, like the bearish one from up here or the bullish one that originates from down here. Okay, so that's QQQ and SPY. Let's look at QQQ on the daily chart. Let's pick up a clean one. All right, QQQ, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap. That's bullish. Over the 17, that's bullish, okay? Over the uptrend line, that's bullish. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Moving up, holding the higher ground, that's bullish. Up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, also bullish, okay? Making higher lows and higher highs, that's an uptrend, that's bullish. QQQ, bullish. SPY, bullish. All right, let's take a look at FNGB. All right, FNGB, we watch FNGB. It's got 10 of the most heavily weighted securities inside QQQ and SPY. We trade SPY and QQQ. Therefore, we need to keep an eye on this one, because when these 10 securities move as a pack, okay, they can drag the rest of the market along with them, because that's just how weighted they are. They are tremendously weighted inside QQQ and SPY. Price action for FNGB. Okay, what do we got? We got, I got to say, I think it's an inside day. Yeah, it looked like an inside day. Lower high, higher low. Still closing over the trap. That's bullish. Closing over the 17. That's bullish. Up in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Moving up, holding higher ground. That's bullish. Okay, closing over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Bullish. Over the daily uptrend. Also bullish. FNGB on the daily chart. This is bullish. Okay, it's bullish till it's not. All three of those, okay? Actually, the whole market. Okay? QQQ, SPY, FNGB. They're bullish till they're not. Okay? Everything is still moving up. They're bullish till they're not. Okay? So stick with it. Don't get in front of it. All right? It's working. It's doing well. All right? So there's FNGB. Let's take a look at IWM. It's not time to get in front of it yet. No signs of weakness. Okay, yesterday's candle, higher low, higher high. Okay, closing over a bullish trap. That's bullish. Closing over a flat or hooking 17. That's bullish. Over the uptrend line, also bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That'd be the pink line. That's bullish. Over the uptrend, that's a goal line. Okay, that's bullish. Okay, we're not in the lower third. We're not in the upper third. Just kind of neutral through here. But here's the good news. What I'd like to see is price to consolidate on top of this all-time high anchored VWAP. Either that or clearly just move up into the upper third. That would be awesome. All right, IWM. No signs of weakness going on here. Okay, notice they move up holding the higher ground. Okay, not quite as strong as SPY and QQQ. But again, IWM has 2,000, it's a Russell 2000, so it's got 2,000 securities, okay? It takes a tremendous amount of capital to keep all of those securities, or the majority of them, up here, because none of those are weighted, I believe, okay? Move them up and hold the higher ground. So there's IWM on the daily chart. That is bullish, all right? Very bullish right there. Holding the higher ground and then jumping up and making another higher low and a higher high. So there's IWM on the daily chart. That's looking good. Again, just neutral through here, but exhibiting characteristics or bullish behavior. Okay, IWM. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Okay, again, moves up, holds the higher ground. That's bullish. See how it holds on top of all-time high anchored VWAP. Bullish. It's actually looking like it set up a inverse head and shoulders here. Same with IWM. You go back here, you can see that would be the head, left shoulder, right shoulder, left shoulder. Okay, IWM. All right, kind of a little inverse head and shoulders going on there. Same on Diamond Dow. All right, on the daily chart. Price action for Diamond Dow is a lower high and a lower low, but closing over the bullish trap. That's bullish. Over the 17, bullish. Over the uptrend line, that's bullish. Over the downtrend line, that's bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. In the upper third, that's bullish. Making higher lows and higher highs, that's an uptrend, also bullish. Okay, so there's Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at some technicals. T21.22. Okay, we were on the 9th here yesterday. Okay, you can see the bears threw us out of the overbought zone. We spent the day in the buy zone, okay, only to make an equal high inside the overbought zone, and then the bears threw us out again. Okay, so we wound up camping out the rest of the afternoon in the buy zone. Okay, still got a higher low. Here's a low. We made a higher low, so that's looking good. Equal high, higher low. That's bullish up there. T21.23. Got a bullish gap up. All right, that didn't get filled by the bears. That's a bullish environment. Look at the previous trading day. A bullish gap up that didn't get filled by the bears. That's a bullish environment. Consolidation over prior consolidation is bullish. Another bullish gap that didn't get filled by the bears, okay? Bulls are in charge. They're large and in charge right now, okay? They may take a time off, all right, because I see a double doji setup. We'll see what happens, but the bulls are in charge. We're up over a rising 200 SMA. That's bullish. We're up over a prior all-time high. We're over a prior all-time high here. That's bullish. Everything's looking good. Making higher lows, making higher highs. That's an uptrend. There's T21.23. That's the 15-minute chart. Okay? You want to see price action. Okay? Is moving up, holding that higher ground. Now we're getting a breakout. Okay? This is looking nice. Okay? Moving up, holding the higher ground. That's bullish. Okay, as opposed to moving up and giving it up. That's just neutral. Okay, whenever we go up and give it up, that's just neutral. Okay, moving up, holding the higher ground. That is a bullish behavior. Okay, so don't want to get in front of this. This is better off. Try to find the long trades. You'll find more success with those long trades as long as you get a decent entry. All right, you'll find that they go further. Okay, they'll generate more profits for you if you manage it right. Okay, you'll have more success, a higher win rate, all right, with those uptrends than you will with the downtrends in a bullish market. Okay, another bullish. Look at this huge bullish gap here that didn't get filled by the bears. Okay, this is a bullish market. Okay, so far it is. All right, there's the 15-minute chart. All right, let's take a look at the 3-bar chart. This is the same chart, okay, but it's on the 3-bar time frame. Okay, so there's a high right there. You can barely see it. A couple of green dots right there. You can clearly see this green line. Price is up over that. Okay, so we're in an uptrend because we're making, there's a high. They're making higher highs, okay? What do we got here? We got consolidation over prior consolidation. That's bullish. We can see price action. It's doing the same thing. It's the same chart. Moving up, holding that higher ground, now having a breakout. Okay. Yesterday, 3 more green candle bars. Okay, nice gap up, holding that higher ground. T2123 3 bar up over the fading 200 SMA. That's bullish. Okay, up over a prior all-time high. That's bullish. Okay, things are looking good. They moved down and they gave it up. Okay, on the daily time frame, that's neutral. Okay, making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend. That's bullish. T2123. Let's take a look at FNGB. All right. Oh, back to this one on the daily time frame. Okay, on the daily. Okay, the first high that we come to, see the green dot up there? The first high that we come to over the 17 is right here. So you can see on the 3-bar chart, okay, that's in an uptrend. The 15-minute chart, that's in an uptrend. But the higher time frame, that's why higher time frames always rule. Okay, higher time frame on the daily, we have yet to make a higher high. Okay, so that would be the high to take out. Now to do that, you can obviously see we're going to have to run through another prior all-time high, a flat 200 SMA, and then grind our way up through all of this to make a higher high. All right, we'd have to take out that high right there on the daily chart, all right, to negate the downtrend that it's in. So currently, this is still in a downtrend because it's yet to make a higher high. It may happen eventually, all right? Just going to take some time. Look how long it's taken. 1 month from April to May, all of May to June, still not in an uptrend that we had going on from back in, well, December right there. That's the all-time highs way up there. Okay, now let's go take a look at, that's the daily chart of the T2123, okay? Still in a daily downtrend, but look, it's not moving down. It's moving up and holding the higher ground. Okay, so that's T2123. Go back to the 3-bar chart so I can set that up when I do the monologue in the evening or the coverage in the evening. All right, so here's FNGB. All right, this is the one we watch. This is 10 of the most heavily weighted securities in SPY and QQQ. All right, so we watch this one. All right, so what do we got? We've got a little bit of consolidation over prior consolidation. Okay, let's draw some of that in there. Okay, so we got some consolidation. You can see on top of prior consolidation. Okay, that's bullish. You get bullish gap ups that aren't being filled by the bears. That's bullish. Okay, over the 200 SMA. That's bullish. Okay, let's see if we can find some of those gap ups that aren't getting filled. See, here's a gap, didn't get filled by the bears. All right, it's a bullish environment. See the consolidation. All right, so we got some consolidation right through here. And you can see we got more consolidation right through there. And you can see we got more consolidation right through there. Okay, all of that's bullish. Okay, we're up over the daily uptrend line. Okay, this is the gold line right here. That's bullish. Over the 200, that's bullish. Moving up, holding the higher ground, that's bullish. See, move up, hold the higher ground, bullish. Move up, hold the higher ground. Pull back, test minor support, rip and make a new high. That's bullish. Move up, hold the higher ground, that's bullish. Up over the gold line. Okay, that's the daily uptrend line. That's bullish over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. Okay, price action is bullish. If we look at yesterday, a little bit of profit taking, mostly a little bit of buying in the morning, and then just kind of selling off. A little bit of just like they pulled the bid and just kind of let it free float up there. Okay. So you can see a lot of red candles caught underneath VWAP up there. Okay, so just kind of, but still holding that higher ground. So there's FNGB. Looking good, nice and strong, taking a rest. All right, maybe another rest before it rides up higher. So there's FNGB on the 15-minute chart. Let's take a look at some sectors. First sector we'll look at is Let's take a look at XLE. All right, XLE, a higher low, higher high, closing over a trap over the 17. That's bullish, but we're in an uptrend on XLE because we made higher lows and higher highs. See the high? They made a higher high. Problem is we're not moving up. All right, we're in an uptrend. We haven't moved up in a long time. Okay, so XLE kind of stuck. Okay, you can see it's stuck underneath. See gold line number 1. All right, that's downtrend line 1, downtrend line. See downtrend line 2. Okay, see the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, we're stuck underneath that. We just now broke out of the lower third. Okay, so we're just kind of neutral through here. Okay, we're no longer in the lower third. Keep in mind, we just got out yesterday. Okay, no longer in the lower third, XLE. Still underneath the midpoint here. Okay, we're nowhere near knocking on the door of the all-time high anchored VWAP. You can see we're underneath that. Okay, so still bearish down here, but it's neutral, and they just broke out of the bearish lower third just recently. So I'm not impressed. It's not ready yet. It's just still caught underneath all of this resistance right here. And that would be this one, and this one, okay? You just drew a line across the bottoms of those. You can see price action just still caught underneath that resistance. They got up there, and they got tossed out. All right, so eventually something's going to have to give because we've got ourselves a little uptrend line going through here. All right, which is going to collide. All right, price will collide with this downtrend line right through there. Okay, so price underneath downtrend line 1, downtrend line 2, all-time high anchored VWAP, just neutral through here. Okay, not impressed. Still in an uptrend. All right, still maintaining that uptrend, but just not been moving up. All right, so there's XLE. Yesterday, maybe things are changing. We'll see. Take this off of there. Let's take a look at USO. All right, USO, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. That's bullish. Knocking on the door of 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. All right. Testing the downtrend line. That would be bullish. We're still underneath it. Okay, no longer in the lower third, so we're neutral. We're making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend, so that's bullish. Okay, so we're in the neutral zone, but we're exhibiting bullish behavior. Okay, we moved up, held the higher ground up here, and now we're moving up again. We're testing 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line and the downtrend line. Okay, so there's USO. Still neutral, not entirely bullish yet. Get up on top of here, hold this area up here on top of all 3-year high anchored VWAP. Break this downtrend line. Okay, that would be something to look at. Look at that. To come back up here and challenge this peak up there. So there's USO on the daily chart. Okay, in an uptrend, but just neutral. Let's take a look at UNG. UNG still in a downtrend, has not made a higher high. This would be the high to take out up here. Still underneath this downtrend line. Price action, lower high, lower low, closing under a bullish trap. That's bearish. Closing under the 17, the flat 17, that's bearish. Underneath the downtrend line, underneath this 12-month high anchored VWAP, that's bearish. Down here in the lower third, that's bearish. Okay, over the uptrend line, that's bullish. All right, but down here in the lower third, that's bearish. So overall, this is bearish still, UNG. All right, it's bearish but not moving down, and it's not bullish enough, for me to call it bullish. It's not doing anything spectacular. Still in a downtrend. All right, so it's bearish and not moving down at this time. All right, we got a bear flag. Price moves down and over to the right. Kind of sloppy, but it's moved down over to the right. That's a bearish environment right there. Okay, just like I said, moving up, holding the higher ground is bullish, Well, moving down and holding this lower quadrant, all right, that's bearish. All right, so there's UNG. Okay, not ready to be a bull yet. Not ready. Okay, still bearish down there. Let's take a look at GLD. All right, GLD got a lower high, lower low, closing under a bullish trap. Okay, so that would be bearish. Closing over the 17, that would be bullish. Closing over the all-time high anchored VWAP would be bullish. Up here in quadrant 4 is bullish. Making higher lows and higher highs, that's bullish. So GLD is bullish. Up here in this upper quadrant number 4, that's bullish. And in an uptrend, all right, see it up over the uptrend line, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, price action for gold is bullish up here. Let's take a look at silver. Now, silver just made a new 12-year high. Okay, so you know that that's bullish. Okay, it's got a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish trap. That's bullish. Over the 17, also bullish. Over this 12-year high anchored VWAP there, that's bullish. This is over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. So silver in a daily uptrend, making higher lows, and higher highs, that's bullish. Okay, new 12-year high, no doubt about it, that's going to be bullish. Let's take a look at SMH. All right, up here in quadrant 4, bullish over the all-time high, bullish, moving up, holding the higher ground, bullish over the trap, over the rising 17. See the green dots moving up? We're over that. Up here in quadrant 4, all of that is bullish. Okay, making higher lows and higher highs is an uptrend. That's bullish. XLK. Okay, same deal. All right, closing over the trap, that's bullish. Over the 17, that's bullish. Over the uptrend line, that's bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, still bullish. Quadrant 4, bullish. This is the all-time high. They are poised and ready to pop a new all-time high up here. Okay, that is the all-time high. We are dangerously close to making a new all-time high up here. Okay, that's XLK on the daily chart. Got higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend. That's bullish. You can see price move up. Hold the upper quadrant number 4. Hold that higher ground. That's bullish. XLK, very bullish up there. XLF, same deal. Moving up, holding the higher ground. Bullish. Okay, got a look like a lower high and a lower low, but closing over a bullish trap. That's bullish. Over the 17, bullish. Up in quadrant 4, bullish. Okay, over the all-time high anchored VWAP, very bullish. Okay, in an uptrend, higher lows, higher highs. That's an uptrend. That's bullish. XLF. IYT. Finally shaping up here on IYT. Got a higher low and a higher high. That's bullish. Closing over the trap, over the 17, bullish. Over the uptrend line, that's bullish. Caught underneath this all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so it's kind of neutral. Okay, not in the lower third, not in the upper third. So just neutral here on IYT. But exhibiting bullish behavior by moving up and holding the higher ground. Okay, so there's the daily chart for IYT. This is the transports. We look to the transports because that's showing us products getting moved off of shelves and restocked onto shelves, okay? Goods and services are being shipped globally or around the country, okay? Transports show us that, okay, with the revenue that they're taking in, okay? So IYT, just neutral at this time, all right? They were close to being in the upper third here for a while. They were in there, all right? They made a higher low. There's a possibility they're out to make a higher high. So there's IYT on the daily charts. Look at the economic package. Start off with the dollar. We like a weak dollar. As a consumer, we hate a weak dollar, okay? Because that means our dollar doesn't go far, okay? As a corporation and seller of goods and services, they like a weak dollar because it makes them more competitive globally, okay? When they have to sell their products to foreign countries. Well, those foreign countries have to, what do I want to say? They have to convert their currency into U.S. dollars. All right, when the dollar is strong, it's going to take them more of their currency, all right, to purchase our goods and services. So having a weak dollar helps us sell our goods and services overseas and make us more competitive globally with other nations that also sell the same goods and services. Okay, so we like a weak dollar. If you're into the market, if as a consumer, you're not going to like a weak dollar because your dollar's not going to go as far. All right, but in the market, we can see we've got a lower high and a lower low, so that's a downtrend. You can see price action broke major support right here. So now that becomes now minor resistance. This will be this brick of candles right here, or this valley low between this peak and this peak. That would be the major support that we broke through. So now this becomes minor resistance up above it, all right, or right here at this line. And we are bear flagging underneath minor resistance. All right, that shows probably another move to the downside. We'll see. All right, so there's the U.S. dollar in a downtrend. We like that. You know, as traders of markets. Okay, as a consumer, not so much. All right, earnings reports. What do we got? We got some big headliners. All right, GameStop's going to report. Not a big headliner. Nothing really market moving here. Okay, some familiar names. All right, Dave & Buster's. Okay, GameStop, Core & Main. All right, J.M. Smucker. Okay, some familiar names, but nothing that's going to move the markets. Not today. Tomorrow, yes. Tomorrow we got Oracle. It's about $500 billion. They're going to report after the close. Okay, other than that, familiar names, nothing to move the markets. Thursday night, same thing. Adobe, they're going to report $177 billion. Okay, all right, they're the big name that's going to move the markets, if anyone will. Okay, not really that big, but still, that's a big number, $177 billion. Other than that, some familiar names, nothing that's going to move the markets. Same deal on Friday. Okay. Not a lot of them. You can see, obviously, they're wrapping up the earnings season. All right. They don't even know if they got their P&Ls ready or if they're ready to report this quarter or what's going on. Okay. So the big ones are Wednesday night and Thursday night. Okay. Adobe and Oracle. Okay. Wednesday night, Oracle, Adobe, Thursday night. All right. Let's take a look at did the earnings. Take a look at the economic calendar. Actually, let's look at Max Payne. Max Payne today, $5.99. That's the puts and calls that expire today at $4.15 for SPY. Okay, $5.99 is Max Payne. Put to call ratio of 1.1 put for each call that expires today at $4.15. Okay, so not much of a put squeeze on the table there. All right, and on the economic calendar. Okay, we've got a light morning today. NFIB Small Business Optimism Index came out at 6, and not much going on. Okay, so nothing in terms of data to wreck the market or to ruin the mojo. Wednesday, CPI 8:30. That's tomorrow morning. Probably want to be hedged or delta neutral. All right, going into CPI on Wednesday. EIA Petroleum report at 10:30. That's normal for a Wednesday. Gas report is usually normal, and they should have that. I don't know why I can't see it. There it is. Gas report 10:30 on Thursday. That's normal for Thursday. Okay, Thursday we're going to have jobless claims, PPI final demand, and the gas report at 10:30. Friday, not much going on. Consumer sentiment at 10, a rig count at 1. All right, that's it for me today, traders. All right, I will see you guys in about 30 minutes. We'll open up the markets, take a look at SPY in the pre-market. And let's see what's going on in the pre-market. Let's see. How come I don't have that pre-market on there? Not showing that. Okay, here we go with the pre-market. Okay, you can see you got a red pullback. You got green erases red. This is looking good. Okay, so if price takes out this low, see this low right here? If they take out those tails down there, I'm going to be a bear. Taking out this high, I want to be a bull. All right, taking out this high, I want to be a bull up here. So I'm going to look for a green candle at the open, all right, for this 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that we're currently looking at. Okay, see how we got a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that originated, look where it originated, underneath the pivot, okay? So you got a 10-minute uptrend, crosses over the pivot, okay? So I want to be a participant in this. Okay, I want a green candle on the 10-minute chart. I just don't want a doji candle. I don't want a spinning top, because both of those, doji or spinning top, tells me they're satisfied with price action. Okay, I don't want something with a more wick on top than body and tail. So see, that's got more wick. If that was the candle up here, if it's got more wick than body and tail, I don't want that, because that shows me bearish control. All right, when it's half the more than half the candle is all wick, I don't want that candle. Okay, because that's showing me bearish control. This nice solid green candle, I like that. This one, that's not quite as big, I like that. I like that. I like that. I like the hammer, definitely like the hammer. Hammers are always good. Like this hammer there. I like this candle right there. That's getting close to a spinning top, but things are looking good, all right? So I'm looking for a green continuation, green candle for a continuation to the uptrend. Not looking for a red candle. A red candle is going to set me off, all right? That's not gonna work for me, because red candles are bearish control. All right? That's the reason why they're red. All right? I'm looking for a green candle, no dojis, no spinning tops, no topping wick candles, okay? No candle that's got more wick than body and tail. All right? And I don't want any red candles, because that shows me bearish control. Don't want any dojis and spinning tops, because that shows me bulls and bears are satisfied with price action. So I want a decent green candle for a continuation of this 10-minute uptrend. All right? And I will take it up to here, take some profits, or add to my position. More than likely, I'll add. All right? And take it up to my first target, 601.92. Okay? That's my first target up top. So that's how I'm going to trade SPY this morning. Okay? If we get underneath these tails, that's a bearish red erases green entry right underneath there. So it'll be before I even get to my red erases green. Excuse me, that would be my red erases green entry underneath those tails. So it'll be right underneath. It'll be even before I get to 598.80. All right, so there's SPY on the 10-minute. That's the plan for me. Again, I'll be looking at 3 days till expiration Friday options, 10 days till expiration Friday options, on the multiple of 5, so that would be a 600 strike, a 605 strike, a 695 strike. Okay? And I like them $5 to $15 out of the money. All right? I like them cheap, stack them deep. All right? So there's SPY on the 10-minute. That's the 10-minute game plan this morning. All right? So we'll start off with that. All right? So there's SPY on the 10-minute. All right? I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes. How high did the overnight? The overnight got all the way up to 601.92. If you were watching the MES futures, the futures market got up there. The SPY did not. If that makes any sense, Jim. In the futures market, which was globally in the Asian session, they brought it all the way up to 601.92. Yeah. All right. Okay, I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes. Let me get this out there for everybody in Cyberland.